Hello together. Today's vlog will be not about cars, but about drones. Let me say up front, I don't think I'm a drone specialist. There are people who spend far more time with them and use them far more than I do. However, I am fairly fussy and I tend to find things which don't work so well fairly quickly. I have quite a few people asking me why I use which drone when. I have three drones. I've got the Mavic, I've got the Phantom Pro 4, which I don't have on the table at present, and I've got the Spark. So why do I use three drones? Good question. I like all three of them for different purposes really. If I need super high quality footage, if I need 4K, I definitely use the Phantom 4 Pro. Definitely the best drone, also in high wind. If I travel, but I have a little bit time of setting up my drone, it is a high wind area, I use the Mavic because it's actually excellent in high wind. If space is as a premium, I definitely use the Spark, and that is the main reason why I really bought this little bugger, because it is so small that it can be actually easy carried with me in a day pack. Is actually quite an amazing piece of technology. However, not everything is golden with it. I found quite a few shortcomings in the Spark. One of it is that the gimbal of the Spark actually cannot go up. It only can go down. That means if you try to take a shot of a beautiful skyline or of a sunset or of a great cloud formation, it's pretty much impossible. A second disadvantage, which is mentioned in many videos really, is the battery time. The battery is fairly small, and realistically, I mean, I have returned to home set at 30%. And that gives me roughly 10-11 minutes really of flight. So that means I have to carry quite a few batteries, and you see I've got 5 of them with me. So that's definitely a disadvantage. Yeah, the good thing is that you can actually charge the Spark via a USB plug here. So that is great, especially for me traveling in the car. However, at this stage, there is no car charger available, really, which works via 12 volt. I have an inverter in the car, which I can use, but in Tiny, for example, I don't have inverter. The inverter is only in my touring car. I also noticed that the Spark is pretty bad in wind, while the Mavic and the Phantom are brilliant. I mean, I have flown them in conditions where I probably shouldn't have flown them. Very, very high winds, from the top of large cliffs, and the Mavic at one stage actually I thought I lost it, but I still got it back. The Mavic and the Phantom do that brilliantly. The little Spark here in wind where the Mavic wouldn't even bother about, the Spark is not a very stable drone. It moves constantly and the footage is pretty much unusable. So any higher wind situations, Spark, not really a suitable drone for it. Another disadvantage, I discovered, nearly lost a drone with it, is the return to home behavior. You cannot change that. The return to home is always go to your designated return to home altitude, which in my case usually is 30 meters, and then return home. So on one photo shoot in the bush, no people around, I started 100 meters down the track, walked and flew the drone up, and then pretty much had the drone as a stationary gimbal, pretty much sitting in the air. Landing because the battery ran out.
Okay.
And then I should have cancelled that. Then it rose up. Interesting that it didn't come down, because it hit the. Yeah, look at this on the propellers. However, when the battery reached 30%, it doesn't really give you much warning. I mean, you have a warning on the screen, but because it was set as a gimbal, I didn't really watch it every second. I know I should, but it was in a remote location, no people around. I was sitting in the car, so I didn't. And the Mavic then pretty much gave me, I think, 20 seconds and started ascending to 30 meters, which means under a lot of trees and so on, not a good idea. I'm wondering where the Mavic is, jump out of the car and just see it going through the trees, up through the foliage. See all little leaves raining down where the Mavic chopped the leaves. Surprisingly, it survived that actually, and it didn't catch really any big branches. I then obviously took control, landed it back. But yeah, I would like to set the behavior to just hover until it runs out of battery and not just take off and fly away, because I imagine in any scenario where you fly under coverage, under that maybe foliage or indoors, you don't want the drone going up, or actually I don't want it to go away. Even I could obviously change the return to home altitude maybe to 3 or 4 meters, but I don't want the drone just to fly off. So I haven't found a setting how to change that. So that is another disadvantage in my book. Overall, but very sturdy. What I really like is that you can charge the drone via USB, so that's brilliant. However, there is at present no car charger for the Mavic, so there's nothing which you can plug into 12 volt and where you can charge 2 or 3 batteries at the time. Given the time you have from each battery, the flying time of you know, between 9 and 12, 13 minutes, you will go through batteries fairly quickly, so that's really a disadvantage. I also bought a little gimbal protector, which I think, yeah, it's pretty good for travel. So, video quality, image quality, I reckon actually the Spark with 1080p out of the box creates better video than the Mavic, yeah, in 1080p. The color quality, yeah, I don't know, it just looks better. That is before you do any color grading. I also like a lot of the features which the Spark has. For example, the Panorama Mode. I used it quite a few times, and yeah, it's brilliant. However, DJI there as well hasn't thought it through that well, because each panorama, which consists of many images, has the same sequence. You can't really import them easy, it becomes super confusing. So you have to import, or I import the panoramas one by one and then rename them and so on. Not very thought through. Obviously each panorama should have its each name and then a sequence number in the actual file name. Also in regards to connection, I have now the USB cable to connect the remote straight to the phone, but nevertheless I feel it's not as a secure or stable connection as with a Mavic or Phantom. Quite often the images flickers a bit or goes off and it comes back, but yeah, I don't know, not as good as the Mavic, I have to say. One other thing is the Spark only has 1080p. So with the Mavic I obviously have far more options with 4K or 2.4K I think it is. So which gives far more freedom, because you shoot bigger, then you can scale down a bit, you can zoom in. All that options you don't have with the Spark. 1080p, and that's where it is. Also image wise you can't shoot RAW, only JPEG, which again in post-production not that good to do post on, like for example on the RAW images you can have with the Mavic or the Phantom 4 Pro. I hope DJI can sort out their shortcomings, and yeah, that would make it perfect. So, do I keep both? Yes, I do. Which to take? Anything where I have to shoot quickly, where again space is a premium, I certainly gonna take the Spark with me. However, if I travel, if I have a bit more space, I take the Mavic. better image quality overall, higher resolution, far more stable in wind, and far more options. One other thing which is unfortunate, that a lot of the advanced modes, for example the panorama modes and so on, the Spark has, the Mavic doesn't. I don't understand. Or the Phantom 4 for that matter doesn't. More expensive drones, you would think they have the same features, but they don't. I guess that's a firmware update, so maybe it's going to come at some stage, but at present that's just not the case.